The way we relate and consume stories have changed in the past 20 years. The rise of the internet, mobile phones, social media platforms have reshaped the way stories are told. Luckily, for the storytellers, the interest and need for stories has not diminished. Storytelling goes way back to prehistoric times, before 3000 BCE. The earliest forms are associated with spoken traditions and cave paintings in the form of symbols. Ancient civilizations introduce us to the next chapter of storytelling evolution, which was in the written form of epic literature such as the Iliad and the Odyssey. During the medieval period, religious and moral tales were a standard. Gutenberg's print invention allowed a wider audience access to books, which were cheaper to produce. The previously used method required a person to hand copy each book individually. During the Renaissance to Enlightenment, novels, poetry, and magazines became widespread. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, genres such as detective stories, science fiction, and fantasy emerged. The invention of photography and cinema in the 19th century introduced the audience to visual storytelling. In the modern era of the 20th and 21st century, film and television have significantly replaced written storytelling with visual storytelling. The most recent digital revolution commercialized multimedia and transmedia as a storytelling tool. And for the past 20 years, we've been witnessing the evolution of storytelling language. As a child, my first meaningful experience with stories and storytelling came from radio plays. The actor voices tickled my imagination, allowing her to grow. Yes, my imagination and creativity is a she, and go places I've never knew were possible. When I was slightly older, I religiously watched all Hollywood classics. The 30s and 40s films weren't in my intentional choice of entertainment. The Communist Party propaganda TV deemed those films as harmless entertainment. Luckily for me, those Hollywood classics paved the way for my love of moving images, shaping my likes, dislikes, and teaching me the cinematic language, even though I didn't know I was learning. When I entered the formal education, learning about ancient history and mythology helped me grow my imagination. For some reason, I felt a deep connection with those stories and the storytelling language. I spent countless hours imagining the ancient gods, mixing with humans in Greece, Rome, and Egypt. When Poland finally became a democratic country after 40 years of Soviet occupation, the censorship over the entertainment slowly started fading away. Finally, for the first time in my life, I was able to access modern, mainstream, and indie films. Indie films swept me off my feet right away. I felt as strongly connected to the indie filmmaking style as I did to the mythology. I absolutely loved Reality Bites. I watched Crash, the 96 version, when I was clearly way too young to watch it, but hey, the video rental shop never checked my ID. In the 90s, films became my favorite way of engaging my imagination, creativity, and slowly developing my taste in films and visual stories. Because the visual content wasn't so readily available on demand as it is now, I had to wait for every single film at least a week before I was able to watch it. So, in between all this waiting, I was reading a lot of fiction. Nowadays, we are exposed to stories and storytelling almost instantly without having to wait. The quality of stories, because of the sheer volume of production, have suffered. It seems to me that once you watch, for example, a kids show, it feels like you have seen them all. The story is usually the same, and the same tools are used to tell the story, often mobile phones, a central part of the story. Something even my 6-year-old noticed. Is that accidental? Personally, I don't think so. Stories shape all of us. And if stories for kids introduce mobile phones, social media, and organizing parties and events by using phones and all the apps that come with it, what are those stories really telling the kids? And most importantly, what are those stories teaching them? And how are those stories influencing their future life choices? My intention with this video essay is absolutely not to criticize the modern storytelling structure or the variety of mediums used to tell stories, but to point out how stories can shape reality, had shaped reality, and are currently trying to rewrite the rules based on social conduct. The classic story structure has beginning, middle, and end. A lot of the stories produced nowadays also follow the same structure, but the difference is in the context. As audience members, we should pay attention to how is the story told, from whose perspective is the story subjective, and again, if the story is subjective, from which side, aka whose perspective the story is being told. What is the plot of the story? Sequence of events, actions. How the product placement tries to depict reality in that story. What are the emotional accents and how are they placed in the story? Is the story helping the audience learn, understand something, become informed, or rather the story divides? Is perhaps the story trying to set an agenda and shift the perception of reality by slowly reshaping it in the image of someone else's agenda? Luckily, stories have the power of uniting us all against those who, well, want to control the narrative. Nowadays, the person who controls the story, the storyteller, is as important as the story itself. So before you make your judgment about certain issues, certain stories, make sure you know who the storyteller is. If they have any hidden agenda, what's their agenda? I feel it's important to recognize that a lot of the stories out there have an agenda, and often that agenda is to divide us and fight amongst ourselves instead of focusing on really important issues such as class divide or crisis of living or the environmental destruction that is going on around us. And I feel that these are the stories that can unite us and help us move forward, but there are certain people with very strong narratives who would like the society to look another way. And that's why I feel that it's really important to, whatever story you listen to, that it's really important to actually to know who is the storyteller and what's their agenda. So keep that in mind next time you watch or listen to anything online or on telly. As I've already said in this video essay, access to stories is easier than ever before, but we have to ask ourselves what stories we really want to tell here and how we want those stories to shape our lives, influence individual choices, and how are those stories going to reshape the future of our planet and society in general. I'm Magda Olczawska, storyteller, filmmaker, writer, and creative thinker. Thank you for watching and listening to my storytelling circle video essay. Don't forget to hit the subscription button. And if you have any comments or ideas about your experience with storytelling, please leave them in the discussion box below. And hopefully, I see you in the next video.